I have been sitting beside this kotatsu for a very long time, watching, waiting, and now 100 of you have found your way here. Oshoshina, obandesu. He knew what she wanted before she said it, offered it at a reasonable price. She accepted. What he sold her arrived the following morning exactly as described. Over the following weeks, other things changed, small things, always toward what she had privately wanted and never said aloud. She realized the salesman was still working, without being asked, without a door to knock on anymore. Don't open your door to any salesman tonight. It is time for chapter 152. Most door-to-door salesmen are simply what they appear, people selling something, moving on whether you buy or not. The transaction is clear, the product known, the price stated. Most of us have learned to handle such visits with polite efficiency, but occasionally a salesman appears at a door with a different quality about them, a knowledge of the specific rather than the general, an offer that is not what most people want, but what this person specifically has been quietly wanting. And a price that seems entirely reasonable given what is being offered. The transaction feels ordinary, but what follows is not. A woman answered her door on an ordinary afternoon to find a man standing on her step, well-dressed, polite, carrying a sample case of the kind that belongs to a certain era of door-to-door selling. He introduced himself, named the company he represented in a way that she registered at the time but found she could not recall clearly afterward. Said he had something she might be interested in. She was about to decline. She declined all door-to-door salesmen on principle. When he described what he was offering, something specific, something she had wanted for a long time, something she had never mentioned to anyone. She stood in her doorway and looked at him and thought about how he could have known. She asked him how he knew she wanted it. He said he made it his business to understand what people were looking for, said it simply, without elaboration, as though the explanation was entirely sufficient. She looked at the sample case, asked to see what he was offering. He opened the case, showed her. It was exactly right, not approximately, not generally, but specifically and completely what she had been wanting. She asked the price. It was reasonable, more reasonable than she would have expected for something this specific and this exactly right. She bought it. He took the payment, said it would be delivered the following morning, closed the case, left. She stood in her doorway for a moment after he had gone and thought about the transaction, then went inside. If these stories have found their way to you, if you find yourself returning to this quiet room, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. It tells me, and whatever else watches from this room, that you were here and that you intend to find your way back. If you have a story of your own, Granny is always listening, watching, waiting. The delivery arrived the following morning, exactly as described, exactly as she had wanted it. She spent the day with it, with the specific thing she had quietly wanted for a long time and had now received from a salesman who had known to offer it, and felt the particular satisfaction of something wanted finally obtained. Over the following days, she noticed other things, small changes in her circumstances, nothing dramatic, simply things shifting in the direction of what she had been privately wanting. The job situation improving slightly, a relationship that had been difficult becoming easier. Small things, each one individually explainable, together forming a pattern that felt less like coincidence and more like someone continuing to work on her behalf, without being asked, and without appearing at her door again. Shakkoi. That pattern, cold in the way of realizing the transaction was not finished when the salesman left. I wonder, if someone appeared at your door and offered you exactly what you privately wanted at a reasonable price, would you buy it, without asking how they knew, without reading the terms carefully? Perhaps you would. Most of us would. If you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening. She tried to find the company he had named. Could not. No record she could locate of any company matching the name she half remembered. No receipt from the transaction. She had not thought to ask for one. No way to contact him or find out what precisely she had agreed to when she accepted the price and the delivery. The changes in her circumstances continued, always in the direction of what she wanted, always small, always individually explainable. She began keeping a record. The record over several months showed a consistent and gentle reshaping of her life toward what she had privately wanted without ever saying. As though someone with full access to her private preferences was working through them methodically, one small change at a time. You are still here. Good. Some stories need a witness all the way to the end. I wonder if someone was quietly reshaping your life toward what you privately wanted, at what point would you ask them to stop? She told me she had not asked him to stop, could not, had no way to contact whoever was continuing the work. But she also told me something else, that the changes, while always in the direction of what she wanted, were not always exactly what she would have chosen if she had been choosing for herself. Close, very close, but occasionally slightly off in ways that accumulated over time into a life that was almost hers, almost what she would have built for herself, but shaped by someone else's understanding of what she wanted rather than by her own, and that the difference between almost and exactly, across enough small changes over enough time, was larger than she had anticipated when she accepted a reasonable price at her door on an ordinary afternoon. I think about the difference between what we want and what someone else understands us to want. Most of the time, these are close enough that the distinction doesn't matter. But occasionally, when someone with full access to our private preferences is making decisions on our behalf without our direct input, the gap between their understanding and our actual wanting becomes visible. In small ways, across time, a life that is almost right, that was built toward what we wanted by something that understood our wanting better than most, but not quite as well as we do ourselves. And that has been working quietly and without a door to knock on, toward its own understanding of what we need, since an afternoon when the price seemed reasonable, and the offer seemed too good to refuse. Ndanyaa. I have known such salesmen from both sides of the door. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. If a salesman appears at your door who knows what you want before you say it, close the door, politely, without buying anything, no matter how reasonable the price, no matter how exactly right the offer, because the transaction does not end when he leaves, and the delivery the following morning is only the beginning of what was agreed to. Everything that follows, the small changes, the gentle reshaping, the life moving incrementally toward what you privately wanted, was included in the price. The terms you did not read because there was no receipt and you did not think to ask. And the salesman who knew exactly what you wanted without being told is still working, somewhere, on your behalf, according to his understanding of what you need, which is close, very close, but not exactly yours. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting. And if you wish others to find their way here too, there is something small you can do, like and subscribe. I would not object. And if you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening.